for making this evening possible. Now I would like to welcome President Hyun-tak Lee on the stage.
How was your dinner and K-food? Good? My name is Hyun-tak Lee from Korean American Association of Queens, New York. 모든 단체들이 차세대를 위한 행사 이런 얘기들을 많이 하는데 실제적으로 차세대들한테 어떤 좋은 영향력을 주거나 어떤 진로를 모색하는 데 도움을 줄 수 있는 행사가 별로 많이 없었던 것 같습니다. 그래서 저희가 2년 전에 커리어 데이라고 해서 우리 청소년들을 대상으로 행사를 시작해 왔는데 작년까지 2회까지는 한인들만 주로 대상으로 했었습니다. 근데 원래부터는 이제 타인종들까지 우리 지역 사회에 있는 청소년들에게 앞서 성공하신 패널 분들의 이야기를 듣고 또 그분들이 어떻게 그 길을 걸어가게 되었는지를 듣는 그런 시간입니다.
Miss Gina Aguilar, a wonderful singer, singing for the national anthem and Korean anthem.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Oh, say those days star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. 온 힘을 과비 두 산이 마르고 닳도록 하느님이 보호하소서. 위한 사랑 위하는 길이 보장하시.
Our special guest this evening, Senator John Liu, is a New York State Senator.
To developing our future through our youth, and that's why we have this career day. And I've been in office for quite some time now, but my biggest responsibility, no matter what office I hold, is to share my experience with our young people, because you are the future. That's why we have career day, and that's why we're here to share our experiences. So I'm going to pass it off to my partner here, Assemblymember Ron Kim, for some intro remarks, and then we'll get into it.
Third annual Career Day. Thank you, Hajanim, for doing this wonderful event, and all the sponsors for doing this event. I started as a young intern here in John Liu's office 20 plus years ago. I just had graduated from college. I studied political science. I didn't know where I wanted to go. And being the only child of immigrant parents, my mom at the time, we all lived in Roosevelt Avenue, just a few blocks away from here. I saw Flushing, our hometown, this is the community we grew up in, with a whole different perspective. I saw the first ever Asian American to be elected to any political seat at a time when young people like me were starting to think about political science and politics and public service. I knocked on his door and I started complaining about all the local issues that was happening around us. And he was like, you know what, Ron, just come here and work for the summer with us and help me resolve some of these local issues. And that's how it started. We had a vision, a purpose, a passion for something, and a mentor that guided us in the right direction. Step by step, I had my first job in government and many different jobs in public service over the course of 2 decades. And so my main message today, we'll get into in a minute, is finding the right mentorship is critically important. And finding the right purpose and direction at a young age is also very important. And to do that, you need to be in uncomfortable places and put yourselves in uncomfortable environments to truly figure out what it is that makes you happy, what it is that makes you want to get up in the morning and put in that hard work.
Obviously, Ron stayed committed to public service and eventually ran for office himself, becoming the first Korean American elected to anything in New York. And we have a lot of young people here. What do you want to be? What does someone want to be when they get older? This young lady right here, yeah, the one that's cracking up right now, yes. What are you thinking about? Wow, really specific.
I'm really into helping people. I spend a lot of my time volunteering, and I really like science, so I did some research, and anesthesiologist basically is in charge of inputting the amount of anesthesia a patient gets during a surgery, and it's like very different depending on the patient, because too much or too less could affect the surgery. I've always been a science kid, so I started like learning biology. I did my biology regents in 8th grade. I really liked the class, and I don't know, it's just really interesting to me.
And we have one anesthesiologist who wants to put people to sleep. Or said another way, want to help people not feel pain. How's that? That's a better way, right? So high school, in college, graduate school, your first jobs, you don't lock yourself into anything. You just try to do the best that you can and learn as much as you can. And that will prepare you for any opportunities, whether it be the opportunities that you're looking for or anything else that might come up. I didn't start out as somebody who was going to run for office. Neither did Ron. We had other things in mind, and one thing led to another, but we were always prepared to take on any challenges or opportunities that came our way.
John got a perfect score in the SATs. He's like a math wizard. So he was a math guy that went into politics. And you don't have a lot of people who start out in math and physics going into politics. Was that a hard path for you, John, or did you always know that you wanted to be in public service?
Well, thanks, Ron. Thanks for this interview. You know what? Yeah, I was a physics guy. That was my major in college. Got my degree in mathematical physics, and I worked in finance as an actuary. If you don't know what an actuary is, it's just like an accountant without the personality. That's what an actuary is. And so I did that for many years. I did that for, hard to believe, 14 years. But one day I was on the 7 train going to work from Flushing, which is where I live, I lived here my whole life. And I'm going to work, and I'm reading the newspaper. There's this huge story about my city council member. And this was like I hate to say this, before any of you were born, it was the late 1990s. And Flushing, it was becoming more Asian. There was a bigger Asian presence. It wasn't totally Asian yet. It was just a large, growing Asian presence. And things were messy. Things were chaotic in downtown Flushing. They still are somewhat chaotic, but believe it or not, it's actually a little more orderly today than it used to be in the late 1990s. And my city council member was interviewed by the New York Times, and the council member said, Flushing is a hot mess. It's filthy. It's congested. It stinks. And it's because all these Asians came to invade. They don't even try to assimilate. And Asians are nothing more than rude merchants, illegal aliens, and criminal smugglers. I read that story like 10 times, and I couldn't do any work that whole day. I was just super upset. And so that's actually what led me to run for city council against that council member. And so you could say my city council member inspired me to run for office. That's how I wound up running for office, and then after city council, running for other positions, and now having the privilege of being your state senator. You know, Ron was a star football player in college, and and I don't think he expected to become a legislator for the state. In fact, even after he was elected as a state legislator, he saw a guy mug someone on Main Street. And this state assembly member chased that guy down, tackled him, held his arms behind his back until the cops showed up.
I found football at a young age because I was always angry as a young man. You know, I was taunted as an immigrant when I went to school. I was bullied. When I first came here, I went to PS 20, where John also went. I went to PS 32, a few blocks away. And I remember in ESL class, right? I came from South Korea. I was in first grade. I didn't speak a word of English, and I used to get bullied in the classroom, the bathrooms. And my parents were working at a 24/7 grocery store, you know, like one of those small businesses. My mom didn't get home till like 8:30 p.m., right? And I didn't tell my parents anything until I was an adult about how hard it was as a child for me. But all that anger, you know, I found myself playing sports, and my mom and my dad was like, oh, you know, just study hard. One day, you know, you can get into the best college, and show them off on how smart you are. You can be a doctor or a lawyer, and you'll have your payback one day. And for me, that wasn't good enough. I wanted immediate sense of justice. And when I put on that football helmet, it didn't matter what I looked like, it didn't matter if I didn't speak any English, like I can run over someone, and I felt immediately gratified in sports. That's how I found sports in my journey, but I realized soon enough when I went to college that immediate sense of kind of chip on the shoulder was very short term. When you go into public service, when you have a political platform, you have a soapbox, then there's real power. Then there's real ownership of our community. And you get to define who you are in a whole different way. And that's how I entered political science, and that's how I entered public service, because I continued to be angry at the world, but I wanted to be much more productive in the way that I seek justice for us, people who look like us, you know, in our neighborhood. And to John, he never forgets, you know, where we come from and why we do this. When it comes to Korean, Asian, Chinese justice, he's always the first one, every time, to be there, to fighting for every dollar, every policy that we're owed. And he always continues to remind me why we're doing this, and that's when we make a good partner in government.
How many people here are Asian American? All right, good. We have some fellow New Yorkers who don't happen to be Asian Americans, but still they're here for Career Day. I want to welcome everybody. Being Asian American myself, I've been Asian my whole life. It is one of those things where you never forget, like Ron said, but a lot of times in this society, even if we wanted to forget, we get reminded every single day, right? Maybe you don't want to necessarily describe yourself as Asian, but other people label you as Asian. And so that's why we have to have some of the struggles that we've been through over, well, in your lifetimes, and certainly even in Ron and my lifetimes, because discrimination still does occur. And we have just had a few years of the worst discrimination that I ever expected to see. During the COVID years, when Asian Americans got blamed for this global pandemic, and it didn't matter where you or your parents actually were from, everybody was just told to go back to China. If you were Chinese American, you got told to go back to China because you brought the virus. If you're Korean American, you still got told to go back to China. If you're from the Philippines, go back to China. And so part of my life experience has always been that, like, even if I didn't want to be Asian, and I will tell you, there was a period of time when my family moved to Bayside and there were no other Asians around. So I was the only Asian in my class, and like Ron was bullied, I also was picked on, and there were a couple of years when I'll be very honest, I wished I was white. I didn't want to be Asian. You can wish you're white all you want. You're still Asian. You can't change that. And so we have to understand our history and what it takes for us to get equal treatment, fair treatment, and ultimately the equal opportunities. And that's why we both, as well as many of our colleagues, ran for office, to ensure that our community gets treated fairly. Yes, sir.
Making money.
Making money. Okay, so making money. Make sure you're successful and financially secure and your family is secure. And then remember to give back to the community. Yeah? You're gonna give back?
Yeah.
At a firm called Point72, which is a large global asset manager. It was started and founded by Steve Cohen, who you might recognize is the owner of the New York Mets. He bought the team about 5 years ago. And I think if there's three kind of lessons I would give based on my career, number one would be, I'm sure everyone here has plans, right? Everyone here has goals and a vision for what you want your future to be. But also understand that those might change, and that's okay if your plans change over time. Work hard at your dreams, really think carefully about what you want to do, what you want to be. But again, if things change, approach that with courage. Don't be fearful about that, and that's okay. The second lesson I would say is that success in your life, in your career, it oftentimes is built on failures, right? Failures can be some of the biggest learning experience you can have, and that can actually be the catalyst for your success in the future. Oftentimes, people think of success and failure as two opposite ends of the spectrum, but oftentimes they're actually the same, different sides of the same coin. So again, success is really going to be oftentimes, it's not going to come easy, right? And so don't be afraid to fail. Again, go through everything, work as hard as you can, give it your best effort, but understand that, oftentimes things aren't always going to work out, and that's totally okay. But just make sure you learn lessons from that so it can prepare you for the next time, and again, so that you can have success long term.
Do we have any college students here? Please raise your hand. All right, so this looks like it's a high school crowd. All right, high school can be a fun time. It can also be very challenging. I am a judge in Queens Civil Court. Now, what do I do? When people from the community have disputes, when they have disagreements, they may be able to get a resolution. They may be able to solve their disputes in civil court. So I serve Queens, the county of Queens. And so when one party, wants to sue another party for up to $50,000, they can do that in Queens Civil Court. All right, so if anyone here is interested in a career as a judge, I really recommend it. It is extremely meaningful and rewarding work. It is wonderful to serve the community in a way that makes people feel that they have a fair resolution to their matter and that they can trust the system to really be impartial in resolving the case.
Dr. Han.
My name is Crystal Han, and I have a multi-location practice / business in Queens as well as Long Island. I grew up here in Queens, and I think growing up I always wanted to become a doctor and be able to help people around me. And I also, I know there was a few artists who people want to become artists, and I myself wanted to be that as well. And somehow in my young high school mind, where you guys are getting ready to apply to colleges or already applied, who knows? But in the stage you guys are in right now, where you're trying to figure out what you want to do and figure out what you want to study in and college and applying to colleges. I was there in your shoes, and I, as a Korean American, I felt pressure to, or my mom maybe, pressured me to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I needed to figure it out then, and then when I was applying to colleges. And I felt the pressure, and I think it was partly good and partly, not good. Because I also went to undergrad in Lehigh University, so there was a program for that, for Lehigh University and Pennsylvania College of Optometry. So that's where I kind of fast-tracked so that I was able to become an eye doctor in 7 years instead of 8 years. So I was the youngest in my class, graduating in my class in optometry school. For optometry also, it's not about just getting glasses or contact lenses. It's really, we check the health of the back of the eye.
Thank you so much for the beautiful presentation. Thank you again.
Probably become something to help with the kids, help people. I just love kids. They're so cute, and I like also helping people out.
Cybersecurity analyst, because I felt that if I were able to protect people, not only physically but also digitally, it would make me more important to people.
Probably a cardiac surgeon, because they make a lot of money, and I enjoy helping people, and I feel the heart is a really interesting organ in the human body.